Okay, so today we're going to get into the second lesson. Last time we looked at some very basic phrases, some general kind of stuff. Today I want to take a look at pronouns. In English, pronouns are really straightforward, but in Khmer it's a bit more complicated, especially when we come to the word you. In English, it doesn't matter how old someone is, it doesn't matter who they are, we could call them you, and it wouldn't be offensive. Whereas in Khmer, the word for you, if you use it for someone, for example, who's older than you, it can actually be offensive. There's a lot of different words that we use, and it depends on the age of the person, the status of the person, and that kind of thing, how we want to respect them. So we're going to go through those. I also just want to tell you guys that for my videos, I'm not going to put any English captions on. I'm going to make some videos to try and teach us to read and write in Khmer. And there's sounds in Khmer that you can't write in English, and in my experience, to speak clearly you need to be able to read and write, so I'm not going to bother writing down in English. Basically, you listen to what I say, and if you want to write that down, then you can make your own note of it in English, because I would write it in English differently to the way you would anyway, so it would be pointless. Okay, so first of all, the word for I, knyom. Knyom. Okay, this is kind of got a ny kind of sound to it, you could say, after a k, so it's like knyom, knyom. Okay, and that just means I, very general. When you're talking about yourself to someone you meet for the first time, you'd call yourself knyom. Again, there are other ways we can refer to ourselves, which we'll get into. Okay, so you, the very general you, which, as I said, can be offensive if used incorrectly, is nyat. Again, nyat, nyat. Okay, it means you. Okay, so we've got knyom is I, nyat is you. Okay, he, guat, guat. Okay, now this word we actually use for women as well. It can mean he or she, but it depends on the age of the woman and what we know about the woman. Okay, so in general terms, guat can mean he or she. So if you're listening to a Cambodian tell a story, sometimes you can run into problems because they'll say guat and you don't immediately know if they're talking about a male or a female. Okay, the word for she is niang, niang. Okay, again, niang. But if we use that for a woman who's older than us or a woman who's married, it's offensive. Okay, so we only use that for girls who are younger than us, or that a woman who we're talking about and we don't know her age. Okay, we would say niang. Okay, he, guat, and it can also describe a woman. Niang for a younger girl. Okay, so we say yearn, yearn. Okay, now the end of this is like an ng sound. A lot of people confuse this and say yearn, yearn, but it's actually yearn. Okay, it has to finish with an ng sound. We can also say but yearn. Okay, but it's just a word that describes more than one. Okay, so it means we're talking about us. So that's personal choice. We can either say but yearn or yearn. I would start with yearn because it's easier, it's less to remember. Okay, for they, we just say gay, gay. Easy to remember, same as the word gay in English, gay. Again, we can put but in front of that if we want. So we can say but gay, but gay, gay. Okay, that's them or they. Okay, so let's just run through those so far. We've got knyom is I, nyat is you, guat is he or she, niang is she for a younger girl, but yearn is we or us, but gay, them or they. Okay, next one. For it, we say we're, we're. Okay, now this is one that's difficult to write in English because in Khmer they have a letter called wo, and this letter is kind of a cross between our W and our V. They only have one, whereas we have two, we have W and V. So we need to try and cross the W and V sound and combine it together, and we say we're, we're. Okay, that means it. Now, one thing that I have to say I don't like about the Khmer language is that they often use this to refer to children. So instead of calling it him or her, they would call it it. They would call their child it. Now that's just the culture, there's nothing wrong with it, but I still find it difficult to do because in England we would never call a child it. Okay? But let's go through that again. The word we're. Good. Okay. Now we're going to look at some more kind of pronouns for you. So, if we're talking to someone older, we call them bong. Okay? Bong. Again, this is that B that we talked about yesterday where we kind of inhale instead of exhale. So it's not bong, it's bong. Bong. Okay? And that means someone older. So if I'm talking to someone older than me, I call them bong. Remember yesterday we learned soksabai art means how are you? We could say nyat soksabai art. Or if we're talking to someone older and we want to be respectful, we can say bong soksabai art. Bong soksabai art. Okay? For someone younger, we use the word own. Own. Okay? Like in English, to own something. Okay? So we could say to someone younger than us, own soksabai art. There's also a slight variation on this where we can say ba'own. Ba'own. The reason for that is the word own is often used by men to refer to their girlfriends or wives. In the same way the word bong is used by women to refer to their girlfriends or wives. So my fiance, she calls me bong. I call her own. She's actually a little bit older than me, but it's an affectionate term for husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, fiancés. Okay? So we've got bong for older, own for younger, or ba'own. Okay? What we'll learn later is we can put boy and girl after that to mean older brother, older sister, younger sister, which is a way we can address friends as well. Now, that's for people who are kind of a little bit older than us or a little bit younger than us. Okay? If we go a little bit older than that, we can look at aunt. So my auntie, we would refer to as Ming. Ming. And that's someone that's younger than your mum's age. You would call Ming. Okay? For the male version of that, the uncle, but a little bit younger than your dad, you would call Boo. Boo. One more time. Boo. Easy. Okay? The next one up from that is someone who's older than your dad, but not old enough to be your granddad. And for that, we would say That doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, we say Okay? Again, sometimes we can say the male or female version of that, but it's all Okay? Next one, for grandfather we say da, lok da. Okay, lok means Mr. Da means grandfather. So we can either just say da or lok da. For a grandmother age, we would say ye. 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 Okay? There's still a few more we haven't been into. One more I will tell you is aing. Aing. This, if you use it for someone you don't know, is incredibly offensive. But if you use it for a very close friend, then it's okay. Okay, so my good friends, I would call them Aang, or myself Aang. Okay? So all of these we can use to describe you, or we can use to describe ourselves with regard to our own status, depending on who we're talking to. Okay? So let's imagine I'm talking to a younger boy. I might say to him, own socks are by art, and he would say, own socks are by. Okay? So I'd refer to him as own, and he would refer to himself as own. Okay? Good. So like I say, there's a few more, but that's just the basic ones, and those are the ones that are most common and that you're going to see most. Okay? Okay. Chumri Blia.